Hello, great scholars. It's Mr. Alan, your science host. Today we'll be looking at a very interesting topic. Actually, it's a catch-up class on heat energy. We're looking at basic facts about heat energy. So we are learning to investigate the effect of heat in nature. So what I'm looking for is your ability to be able to relate the idea of heat energy in real life situations as it applies to daily interaction. So the sun is actually the basic source of energy on Earth, and it supplies the entire universe with light and heat energy, which is very, very important. And we all know that energy is the ability to do work. So we're comparing heat and temperature in this class. Now, what we mean by ambient temperature is the temperature of the air that exists around you per time. It is called the ambient temperature, and the room temperature is always put at 25 or 30 degrees Celsius. Okay, let's move forward now. Temperature is simply how hot or cold an object is, and heat is transferred to object from one form to another. So as you can see in this picture, if heat is very low, you can see that the molecules is represented with shorter lines showing that they are moving in a slow manner or motion. But on the other side of the picture, you have the high movement where you have longer lines telling you that they are moving at a very fast manner or speed. Now, we're talking about heat transfer. Heat transfer is the process where heat is transferred from one object to another. Okay, this picture tells us about the three types of heat transfer as we've done previously. We have the conduction, convection, and radiation. In conduction, it involves the transfer of heat in solid objects like this pot you can see. The heat transfers to the handle over time and you can feel the heat. Then the content inside the pot, whether water or food, gets heated at some point and boils. Now, when the heat from the solid enters into the object or the content you are cooking, it then receives heat and begins to vibrate. In the process of vibration, for instance, water, it will evaporate into the atmosphere. So we call that process convection, the movement of heat from one point of a liquid to another, while radiation is the transfer of heat through a vacuum or through space. For instance, the energy from the sun reaches the earth in 8 minutes. Now, it travels through vacuum and we cannot see, but we can feel it. We call it radiation because it travels through space. Now, look at this fireplace in this house, for instance. Now, the wood is set on fire or set ablaze and it burns over time to heat up the room. So, heat transfers from the wood or from this calm gas to the entire part of the room through a vacuum, that is radiation. Then, if you place a solid object like a pot, it will receive heat and the content will boil. And this takes us to temperature, which is a measure of how hot or cold a body is. So the normal body temperature of humans is put at 37 degrees Celsius. Now, any other temperature below this standard temperature, which is 37 degrees Celsius, shows that the patient is ill and needs medical attention. On a thermometer, which is used to measure temperature in degrees Celsius or degrees centigrade or Fahrenheit or Kelvin, as the case may be, but the most accepted standard unit is degrees centigrade or Celsius, but you can convert from Kelvin to Fahrenheit and so on. So the point between the thermometer is called graduation or calibration. So you take your readings as the mercury in the in-glass thermometer moves. Like this is a mercury in-glass thermometer. The sensor senses temperature, whether hot or cold, and the mercury moves up the tube and stop at a graduation point. Then you take your reading. So if it stops at, for instance, on this picture, it's 37 degrees Celsius, where you see the red mark pointing at 37. Okay, this is a digital clinical thermometer. Now, it is used in the hospital to test the temperature of patients. As you can see on this screen, it's 99.8 degrees Fahrenheit, which is another unit for temperature. We are fast leaving the use of this one to a better and advanced one, which I will talk about later. So the Fahrenheit clinical thermometer is also shown here. You can see it is placed in the mouth of the patient, or in some cases in the armpit of patients, where the temperature is being read by the mercury moving in the glass tube because it is sensitive to temperature, whether hot or cold. The sensor is at the tip and it senses temperature and you read on the thermometer. So where the mercury stops, like where the red mark stops, you take your reading from that point. So on this thermometer is on the point 102.4 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit, as the case may be. Now this is called an infrared thermometer. It is the most advanced thermometer right now, and we have the electronic infrared thermometer that reads temperature without contact. As you can see on this screen of the digital thermometer, it reads a temperature at this point at 98.4 degrees Fahrenheit. It can be converted from Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius or centigrade, or to the Kelvin scale of temperature measurement. So this does not require contact with the patient's body, because we are trying to avoid infection. Like in the case of the corona outbreak, where you don't have to have contact with an infected person, we need an infrared thermometer. So you are asking a question, but does it work? Yes, they work, because the infrared has the ability to sense the temperature and interpret it in form of a digital figure on the digital screen where you take your reading. So you can see on this picture the coronavirus, it was used to take the temperature of patients. On this picture are different types of thermometer: the infrared thermometer, mercury in-glass thermometer, digital or clinical thermometer, the mercury in-glass thermometer, and so on and so forth. All right. Summarily, heat energy is thermal energy which is transferred from a hotter body to a cooler body, while temperature, on the other hand, is a measure of how hot or cold a body or object is. Heat is measured in joules, while temperature is measured in degrees centigrade or Celsius, as the case may be. Now, you also need to know that heat is very, very important in nature, to man, to plants, and to other animals. Heat is a form of energy that cannot be overemphasized, from drying agricultural products like produces or harvest, to heating foods and cooking process in our kitchen, to drying clothes on the lines, to ironing clothes from electric gadgets like electric iron and so on. Have a nice day. See you in Google Classroom.